On the morning of April 27, 1961, celebrations erupted across the Sierra Leonean capital, Freetown. Streets were decorated with blue, white, and green, the new national colors symbolizing natural wealth, unity, and peace. Traditional drummers, dancers, and schoolchildren filled the city's main avenues. At midnight, the Union Jack was lowered, and in a highly emotional moment, Sierra Leone's new flag was raised for the first time, marking the independence of Sierra Leone from 150 years of British rule. The ceremony took place at the Brookfield Stadium, attended by British representatives, local leaders, and thousands of citizens who had traveled long distances to witness the historic transition. Sir Milton Margai was sworn in as the first Prime Minister, emphasizing collaboration, democratic governance, and social development in his speech. Church bells rang, Muslim prayers were offered, and cultural festivals continued throughout the day and into the night, reflecting the religious and ethnic diversity of the new nation. When Sierra Leone gained independence on the 27th of April 1961, it did not immediately adopt a presidential system because the country remained a constitutional monarchy under Queen Elizabeth II. This meant that the Queen served as the ceremonial head of state, represented locally by a Governor-General, while real political authority rested with the head of government, the Prime Minister. Sierra Leone followed the British-style parliamentary model where executive power is exercised by the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, and the Governor-General performs mainly symbolic duties. This structure made the transition from colonial rule smoother and avoided the complexities of immediately rewriting the constitution to create a republic. It was only in 1971, 10 years after independence, that Sierra Leone decided to remove the British monarch as its head of state, declare itself a republic, and create the office of the president, with Siaka Stevens becoming the first to occupy that role. The move reflected a desire for full sovereignty, a stronger executive system, and a symbolic break from colonial authority. Since becoming a republic in 1971, Sierra Leone has had a total of 8 presidents and head of state, with 10 presidencies. In this video, we shall shine the light on all Sierra Leone presidents and head of states from 1961 to 2025, telling you when and how they became president and how their rule ended. This is a brief political history of Sierra Leone presidents from 1961 to present day. 1. Sir Milton Margai, 1961 to 1964. Although he was not actually a president, we decided to include him on this list because Sir Milton Margai stands as one of the most influential founding fathers of modern Sierra Leone, remembered for his calm leadership, national unity efforts, and pivotal role in steering the country toward independence. Born in 1895 in Gbangbatoke, Moyamba district, he emerged from the Mende heartland to become one of the earliest Western-educated Sierra Leoneans, studying medicine in England before returning home as a highly respected doctor. His medical work earned him national admiration, particularly for expanding maternal and child health services across rural communities. This reputation for service later helped him transition smoothly into national politics. By the late 1940s and early 1950s, Sierra Leoneans were increasingly demanding political reform and greater autonomy from British colonial rule. Milton Margai joined the colony's legislative processes and soon demonstrated strong diplomatic skills, a conciliatory style, and the ability to bridge ethnic and regional divides. In 1951, he founded the Sierra Leone People's Party, which quickly became the dominant political vehicle pushing for independence. His leadership qualities made him the most acceptable figure to both Sierra Leoneans and the British authorities during constitutional negotiations. Following a series of constitutional conferences in London, the British government introduced internal self-government for Sierra Leone. As a result, in 1954, Milton Margai became the country's first chief minister, effectively positioning him as the head of government. When the constitution evolved further, in 1958, the title changed to Prime Minister, and he continued in that position. Magai stayed Prime Minister through the critical years leading to independence, overseeing political reforms and uniting chiefs, urban elites, and rural populations under a shared vision for nationhood. His steady, moderate political tone and ability to negotiate without provoking confrontation earned him trust from both London and Freetown. On 27 April 1961, when Sierra Leone finally gained independence, he continued as Prime Minister, now leading a free and sovereign nation within the Commonwealth. He remained in office until his death on the 28th of April 1964, meaning he effectively served as Prime Minister from the introduction of the role in 1958 until 1964, roughly 6 years, though his leadership as head of government stretched back to his chief ministership in 1954. His death marked the end of an era defined by stability, consensus politics, and a peaceful transition to independence. 2. Sir Albert Magai, 1964 to 1967. Sir Albert Magai, the younger half-brother of Sir Milton Magai, was one of the central political figures in Sierra Leone's early post-independence era. Born in 1910 in Gbang-Batoke, he was part of the first generation of highly educated Sierra Leoneans, studying law in England before returning home to become one of the country's earliest African lawyers. His sharp intellect, strong personality, and assertive political style distinguished him from his elder brother's more moderate and consensus-driven approach. Albert played a key role in founding the Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, in 1951, initially serving in several ministerial positions, including Minister of Health and later Minister of Finance, where he gained a reputation for administrative confidence, but also for political boldness. He became Prime Minister in 1964, following the death of Sir Milton Magai. At that time, the SLPP leadership and the Governor-General supported Albert as the natural successor, given his political experience, seniority within the party, and role in shaping the government since the early 1950s. However, unlike his brother, Albert Magai took a more assertive and centralized approach to governance. His tenure was marked by efforts to strengthen executive authority, increase government control over state institutions, and consolidate political influence, which gradually created tensions between him and opposition groups, civil servants, and even sections of his own party. These moves sparked public debate and contributed to growing political polarization. Sir Albert Magai served as Prime Minister from 1964 to 1967, a period lasting roughly 3 years. His time in office ended after he lost the highly contested 1967 general election to Siaka Stevens of the All People's Congress, APC. Before Stevens could fully assume power, a military coup intervened, triggering a chain of political instability. Despite this turbulent end, Albert Magai remains a significant figure in the nation's formative political history. 3. Siaka Stevens, 1967 to 1985. Siaka Probin Stevens was one of the most transformative and controversial political leaders in Sierra Leone's post-independence history. Born on the 24th of August, 1905, in Moyamba District, he rose from humble origins to become a trade unionist, police officer, and later a prominent political strategist. His early career in the Sierra Leone police force and the labor movement sharpened his organizational abilities and his understanding of how to mobilize ordinary citizens. In the 1950s, he emerged as a key political actor when he co-founded the Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, though he later broke away over disagreements about independence negotiations. This led him to help create the People's National Party, PNP, and, eventually, the All People's Congress, APC, in 1960, which became his primary political platform. Stevens gained national visibility during debates over the Lancaster House Agreements, when he argued that Sierra Leone was rushing into independence without adequate safeguards for workers and marginalized groups. His opposition got him temporarily sidelined, but it also built his reputation as a defiant and outspoken leader. In the 1967 general election, Stevens and the APC won a narrow victory, making him prime minister. However, before he could meaningfully assume power, the military intervened, leading to a turbulent period of coups and counter-coups. After a year of chaos, civilian rule was restored in 1968, and Stevens finally took office as prime minister. Once in power, he consolidated authority, strengthened the APC, and systematically reduced the influence of rivals. His long-term ambitions reshaped the state itself. In 1971, Sierra Leone declared itself a republic, replacing the governor-general and the British monarch with an executive presidency. Stevens became the nation's first president, marking a major political shift. As president, he ruled from 1971 to 1985, a period of 14 years, making him the longest-serving leader in Sierra Leonean history. His presidency is remembered for both stability and authoritarianism. While he maintained unity and kept the country from descending into conflict during his tenure, he also centralized power, weakened democratic institutions, restricted freedoms, and entrenched a political culture of patronage and corruption. By the time he retired in 1985, handing power to Joseph Saidu Momo, Stevens had left a complex legacy, one that shaped Sierra Leone's political landscape for decades. 4. Joseph Saidu Momo, 1985 to 1992. Joseph Saidu Momo was a central figure in Sierra Leone's political and military history, remembered both for his long military career and for presiding over one of the most turbulent periods in the country's post-independence era. Born on the 26th of January, 1937, in Binkolo, Bombali district, he grew up in the northern region and joined the Sierra Leone Army in the 1950s, rising steadily through the ranks. Momo earned a reputation as a disciplined officer, eventually becoming a brigadier and serving as the Army's commander. His military background and loyalty to the ruling All People's Congress, APC, made him an important actor during the leadership of President Siaka Stevens, who relied on him to maintain internal stability and ensure political support from the armed forces. Although not a prominent public political figure, Momo was well known within state institutions as a quiet, obedient, and dependable administrator. He became president of Sierra Leone in 1985 when Siaka Stevens voluntarily stepped down after 14 years in power. Rather than allowing an open political contest, Stevens personally selected Momo as his successor, seeing him as a loyal figure who would protect APC interests and preserve his legacy. Parliament then ratified the choice, and Momo was sworn in as president. His accession marked the first peaceful transfer of executive power in Sierra Leone's post-independence history, though it was heavily controlled and lacked broad democratic competition. Upon taking office, Momo promised reform, transparency, and national renewal. He introduced what he called the New Order, aimed at restoring discipline, improving state management, and reviving a collapsing economy weakened by corruption, mismanagement, and declining mineral revenues. Despite these promises, Momo's presidency was marked by mounting crises. Corruption deepened, government authority weakened, and the economic situation deteriorated further. By the early 1990s, public frustration had grown, and state institutions were near collapse. The most devastating blow came in March 1991, when the Revolutionary United Front, ROF, launched a rebellion from Liberia, triggering the brutal civil war that would consume the country for 11 years. Momo's government struggled to respond effectively, revealing the fragility of the state. Joseph Saidu Momo served as president from 1985 to 1992, a period of 7 years. His rule ended on 29 April 1992 when young military officers, led by Captain Valentine Strasser, overthrew him in a coup, marking the collapse of the APC's long single-party era. 5. James Yaya Kanu, 1992. James Yaya Kanu is one of the most short-lived and least-known leaders in Sierra Leone's political history, remembered mainly for the brief and chaotic moment in 1992 when he was declared head of state for less than 24 hours during a military uprising. Born in the northern region of Sierra Leone, Kanu built his career within the armed forces and rose to the position of commanding officer of the 4th Battalion, a key military unit during the early stages of the Civil War. He was respected as a disciplined officer, but operated largely behind the scenes, not as a political figure, but as a senior military administrator responsible for logistics, discipline, and troop operations. His proximity to commanding structures meant that during moments of crisis, his name naturally appeared among those positioned to assume temporary authority. His path to becoming head of state came unexpectedly during the military mutiny of 29th to 30th April 1992, when young soldiers, frustrated by poor conditions, unpaid salaries, and the government's mishandling of the war, marched on Freetown to demand change. As President Joseph Saidu Momo's government began collapsing under pressure, the military hierarchy attempted to stabilize the situation by placing Brigadier James Yaya Kanu as interim leader. For a brief moment, he was announced as head of state, a move meant to calm the troops and preserve some continuity within the chain of command. However, the young soldiers who led the uprising rejected this decision, viewing Kanu as part of the old military establishment and too closely tied to the failed political order of the APC government. Within hours, the mutiny evolved into a full military coup led by junior officers, most notably Captain Valentine Strasser, and other members of what would become the National Provisional Ruling Council, NPRC. They removed Kanu from authority almost immediately. As a result, James Yaya Kanu served as head of state for less than a single day, specifically between the 30th of April and the 1st of May 1992, making his tenure the shortest in Sierra Leone's history. Following the coup, Kanu was arrested by the NPRC junta, along with several senior officers loyal to the former government. Sadly, he was later executed by the regime in December 1992, accused of involvement in a counter-coup plot. His story reflects the volatility, confusion, and factionalism that characterized Sierra Leone's political environment during the early Civil War years. 6. Valentine Strasser, 1992 to 1996. Captain Valentine Strasser is one of Sierra Leone's most famous military leaders, known for rising from relative obscurity to become the world's youngest head of state at the age of 25. Born on the 26th of April 1967 in Freetown, Strasser came from a modest background and attended local schools before joining the Sierra Leone Army in the mid-1980s. His military training and rapid advancement through the ranks positioned him as a junior officer during a period of national instability, with widespread dissatisfaction in the armed forces over unpaid salaries, poor conditions, and the failing government of President Joseph Saidu Momo. These grievances, combined with the outbreak of the Sierra Leone Civil War in 1991, created the conditions for military intervention in politics. Strasser became head of state following a military coup on the 29th of April 1992, which overthrew President Momo. The coup was executed primarily by young junior officers and soldiers who felt sidelined by senior military officers and frustrated by the government's inability to address the insurgency by the Revolutionary United Front, RUF. Initially, the mutineers briefly recognized Brigadier James Yaya Kanu as a temporary leader, but Kanu was rejected by the rank-and-file soldiers. Strasser, a charismatic and decisive junior officer, quickly emerged as the figurehead of the uprising. He was appointed chairman of the National Provisional Ruling Council, NPRC, effectively becoming Sierra Leone's head of state at the age of 25. His rise was unprecedented, making him one of the youngest national leaders in modern history. During his tenure, Strasser attempted to restore order in a country devastated by war and economic collapse. He pursued reforms aimed at reducing corruption, disciplining the military, and addressing some grievances of the soldiers who had brought him to power. However, His government struggled to contain the growing insurgency by the RUF and faced international isolation. Strasser's administration was marked by both bold attempts at reform and significant challenges, including internal dissent, political inexperience, and resource shortages. Valentin Strasser remained in power from 30 April 1992 to 16 January 1996, a period of nearly 4 years. His presidency ended when he was overthrown in a palace coup led by his own deputy, Brigadier Julius Maada Bio, who argued that Strasser's government had become increasingly unpopular and ineffective. After his removal, Strasser lived in exile for many years, remaining a controversial figure, remembered for his youthful leadership, military rule, and attempts to stabilize Sierra Leone during one of its most chaotic periods. 7. Ahmad Tejan Kaba, 1997 to 2007. Ahmad Tejan Kaba was a prominent Sierra Leonean politician and diplomat, best known for leading the country through one of its most challenging periods, the latter stages of the Civil War, and for restoring democratic governance. Born on the 16th of February 1932 in Pendembu, Kailahun district, in eastern Sierra Leone, Kaba hailed from the Mandingo ethnic group. He pursued higher education in the United Kingdom, earning a degree in law and later working with international organizations, including the United Nations Development Programme and the World Bank. His professional career gave him significant experience in diplomacy, development, and governance, earning him a reputation as a capable and principled administrator. He also served as a minister in the Sierra Leonean government before exile, notably as Minister of Finance and Secretary General of the United Nations Development Programme in Sierra Leone. Kaba became president under extraordinary circumstances. In 1996, after a decade of military rule following the 1992 coup that ousted Joseph Saidou Momo, Sierra Leone held democratic elections to restore civilian governance. Running as the candidate of the Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, Kaba won the election, becoming the first democratically elected president following the period of military juntas led by Valentin Strasser and Julius Maada Bio. His election symbolized a return to constitutional rule and hope for peace after years of instability and civil conflict. However, shortly after taking office on the 29th of March 1996, his government was overthrown in a coup by junior military officers led by Johnny Paul Koroma on the 25th of May 1997, forcing Kaba into temporary exile in neighboring Guinea. The coup, part of the continuing unrest during the Civil War, briefly disrupted the democratic process. Kaba was restored to power on the 13th of February 1998 with the assistance of the Economic Community of West African States Monitoring Group, ECOMOG, a regional military intervention force. Upon his return, he focused on negotiating peace with rebel forces, strengthening democratic institutions, and rebuilding the war-torn country. His leadership included signing the Lome Peace Accord in 1999 with the Revolutionary United Front, RUF, though challenges persisted with sporadic violence and fragile governance structures. Ahmad Tejan Kaba served as president from 29th March 1996 to 25th May 1997, and again from 13th February 1998 to 17th September 2007, giving him nearly 11 years in office over 2 terms. His presidency is remembered for restoring democracy, promoting reconciliation, and guiding Sierra Leone toward post-war recovery, making him one of the most respected leaders in the nation's modern history. 8. Johnny Paul Koroma, 1996 to 1997. Johnny Paul Koroma was a Sierra Leonean military officer and political figure who played a pivotal role in the country's turbulent history during the late 1990s. Born in 1960 in Makeni, in the northern region of Sierra Leone, Koroma pursued a military career and steadily rose through the ranks of the Sierra Leone Army. By the mid-1990s, he had established himself as a prominent figure within the military hierarchy. gaining recognition for his leadership during the ongoing civil conflict against the Revolutionary United Front (RUF) rebels. In May 1997, Sierra Leone experienced a coup d'état that dramatically changed its political landscape. Dissatisfaction with President Ahmad Tejan Kaba's government, combined with ongoing civil unrest and grievances within the armed forces, created conditions ripe for intervention. Koroma, as a senior military officer, led the National Provisional Ruling Council (NPRC), a group of officers who overthrew Kaba's administration. Following the coup, Koroma assumed the role of head of state, effectively becoming the president of Sierra Leone. His tenure was marked by political instability, international condemnation, and attempts by regional organizations, including the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, to restore democratic governance. Koroma's rule lasted for approximately 8 months, from May 1997 until February 1998, when Kaba was reinstated as president with the assistance of ECOMOG forces, a West African peacekeeping contingent. Despite his brief presidency, Koroma remained an influential figure in the military and political landscape, later becoming associated with armed factions during the continued civil war. His legacy is controversial, reflecting both his role in the 1997 coup and the broader instability that characterized Sierra Leone during the late 20th century. 9. Ernest Bai Koroma, 2007 to 2018. Ernest Bai Koroma is a prominent Sierra Leonean politician who served as the country's president from 2007 to 2018. Born on October 2, 1953, in Makeni, northern Sierra Leone, Koroma came from a relatively modest background and grew up in a large family. He pursued higher education at Fura Bay College, where he studied accounting, later working in banking and business before entering politics. His professional experience, combined with his deep understanding of Sierra Leone's socio-economic challenges, helped him build credibility as a reform-minded figure. Koroma's political career began with the All People's Congress, APC, one of Sierra Leone's major political parties, which historically drew strong support from the northern regions. He steadily rose through the party ranks, gaining recognition for his organizational skills, strategic thinking, and ability to connect with grassroots supporters. Koroma became the APC's presidential candidate in 2007, campaigning on a platform focused on anti-corruption, economic revitalization, and infrastructural development. He leveraged widespread dissatisfaction with the ruling Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, government, which was criticized for inefficiency and mismanagement. In the 2007 general elections, Koroma won decisively, marking a peaceful transfer of power and the first time in Sierra Leone's history that a ruling party peacefully ceded power to the opposition. His presidency was characterized by efforts to stabilize the post-Civil War economy, attract foreign investment, improve infrastructure, and strengthen public institutions. He also faced challenges, including recurring power outages, unemployment, and the 2014 to 2016 Ebola epidemic, which tested his leadership and governance capacity. Ernest Bai Koroma served 2 terms as president, from September 17, 2007 to April 4, 2018, after winning re-election in 2012. His 12-year tenure is notable for relative political stability, economic growth initiatives, and a continued emphasis on national reconciliation following Sierra Leone's decade-long civil war. Despite criticisms of corruption and uneven development, Koroma remains a central figure in Sierra Leonean politics and the APC party. 10. Julius Maada Bio, 2018 to present. Julius Maada Bio is a Sierra Leonean politician and retired military officer who has played a central role in the country's political landscape since the 1990s. Born on May 12, 1964, in Tihun, Bonfe district, Bio pursued his education in Sierra Leone before joining the military, where he quickly rose through the ranks due to his discipline and leadership abilities. His early military career placed him in positions of influence during a period of political instability and civil conflict in Sierra Leone. Bayo's first entry into the highest office came in 1996, during a particularly tumultuous time in the country's history. Following years of military rule and the devastating civil war, the National Provisional Ruling Council, NPRC, which had been in power since a 1992 coup, sought to transition the nation back to civilian governance. Bayo, then a senior officer within the NPRC, assumed the role of head of state in January 1996 after his predecessor, Valentine Strasser, was ousted in an internal military coup. Bayo's first tenure as president was brief but significant, lasting from January 16, 1996 to March 29, 1996. During this period, he oversaw preparations for democratic elections aimed at ending years of military dominance and restoring civilian rule. In March 1996, presidential elections were held, and Ahmad Tejan Kaba, representing the Sierra Leone People's Party, SLPP, was elected president, formally ending Bayo's brief stint as head of state. After stepping down, Bayo transitioned from military leadership to political life, gradually building a reputation as a committed advocate for social justice, education and reform, eventually becoming a key figure within the SLPP. After years of political activity and national service, Bayo successfully ran for the presidency again in the 2018 general elections. This marked his return to executive leadership in a democratic and civilian context, contrasting with his initial military-backed rise to power. Campaigning on a platform focused on education, anti-corruption, poverty reduction, and infrastructure development, Bayo secured broad support and was inaugurated as president on April 4, 2018. His rise reflected both his enduring political influence and his ability to adapt from military leadership to democratic governance. As of his second presidency, Bayo has faced challenges including economic reforms, public sector accountability, and the ongoing task of consolidating democratic institutions in a country historically shaped by conflict and instability.